that's correct.
And I see the recording just started. Yeah. So yeah, welcome to the DEXPI P&ID 1.4 training session in the context of the OBI and ODI series, OBI IDO training series. Yeah, we have prepared a small agenda. I will shortly talk about DEXPI on very high level. Then Heiner will present the DEXPI relation to the previous OBI IDO trainings, so like CFOS, DISC, IMF, these topics. Then I will share the DEXPI P&ID specification topics. I will talk about what has changed since the previous version, and what we have as deliverables, and maybe some contents depending on what you want to see in the end. And as Niels already mentioned, we hope to have enough time for a proper Q&A. Otherwise, we will follow up based on what you write in the chat or when you contact us via mail. And then we definitely will be answering to everything that comes to our desk. So starting with DEXPI high level. So what is DEXPI? And for me, I always point out to two main things. DEXPI is an association doing something, and DEXPI stands for information models. So addressing the first part, that is more the networking and community part. DEXPI is an association promoting and organizing networking and collaboration in the process industry regarding data exchange standards across the asset lifecycle. So the networking aspect, the association aspect, the collaboration aspect is covering the whole asset lifecycle, from the first idea of a process via the plant, where we engineer, design, specify, where we have the construction, where we have later on operation and maintenance until demolition. So the association is talking about the whole asset lifecycle and bringing parties together to have an alignment. And the technical core of DEXPI, that is the second part, we have information models for the exchange of P&IDs, PFDs, and BFDs. First, when we start having an idea, we have block flow diagrams, BFDs. When we go one more into detail, we have the process flow diagrams, where we talk about unit operations, process steps, streams. And later on, when we start specifying the actual steel and iron plant, and then we're in the design phase, we have the P&IDs, the piping and instrumentation diagrams. And regarding the specifications, that is the old status. The old P&ID specification was dated 2021. And today, later, we will talk about the DEXPI 1.4 that is quite fresh, that was released in December 2024. And on the other hand, we have the DEXPI process specification that is dealing with the other two diagrams, the PFDs and the BFDs. That is about the process steps and the process streams. So that is high level. What is DEXPI? And the next part will be covered by Heiner. Heiner, do you want to share the slide that I just sent you? Or should we use my screen?
We can use your screen, Gregor.
Okay, so I will go to the next slide and you tell me.
Okay. That is what Gregor said, a view on the life cycle. That is a picture from the ISO 5926 colleagues, and perhaps Gregor Crick. And to the left, we will see the process world with the activities and streams, what Gregor said. And here we have, as we heard, the DEXPI process specification, and in the middle, we will have additional the DEXPI, the plant world in a functional view, and green physical view with our specification DEXPI plant for P&ID, where Gregor will make a deeper dive in. And to the right, we have where we have no DEXPI specification, but as Gregor said, we cover the whole life cycle. We have the world in purple from the assets, which were before products, and from the market, we have the vendors, the device vendors with their product and their product models. That is our general view and the placement of the two DEXPI specifications. On the next slide, it's a little recap from our world of the P&ID, and Gregor, click perhaps to the left. We have the three important topics: piping, instrumentation, and apparatus and machines. And we cover not only the world of the symbols and labels. The most important part is the engineering content with the taxonomy of the different parts, and of course the topology and the old stuff for P&ID in the bottom as well. And on the next slide, we see a little picture for the DEXPI process model. We cover here the block flow diagram and the process flow diagram with the new specification, and that is in the beginning of the life cycle, the process model, and to the right we walk them over to the plant model. And on the next slide we will see that in this year these two specifications will be there is a joint to one specification in the new release for, let's say, summer or fall this year. We will have a common specification that everyone can use DEXPI process and plan together, or only one module of that. That's also included in the new specification from DEXPI 2.0. And now let's have a look on the next slide in our alignment work. We heard in the last training sessions a lot about the different good approaches, perhaps from CFOS, from IDO itself, from DISC, IMF, or from STEP. And here we have a look and we will show how DEXPI and CFOS work together. In the CFOS world, we have to the left the process specification, but that's not populated now in CFOS. CFOS covers more the world of the tax and in the middle, and the world of the equipment. They call it equipment, what we have here in purple, assets, that's the same. And here we see, okay, in the middle, the process plant that's covered by CFOS, and that is our work. We generated a common taxonomy for DEXPI plant and for CFOS. That means if someone has a configuration from CFOS, he can switch over to DEXPI and vice versa. And let's go on the next slide a little bit more in the details. With CFOS and DEXPI, we have a common breakdown structure. The important things are here on the slide: the site, the industrial complex, the process plant, the plant section, they call it process unit, only another name, and of course the plant area as well. And we have a system concept in both specifications as well. And we have common concepts. Let's say we cover the same industry segment, the process industry, a common view on the life cycle. We both use part 4 of ISO 59226 as primary RDL. We cover both concepts from ISO 14224, let's say the boundary concept as important part and the maintainable item concept. We use both classifications instead of naming rules, and in both initiatives we have early involvement of the software vendors. And on the next slide we have a little bit more detailed view. In CFOS we have 853 tags, and we try to identify all P&ID relevant. nearly 600, and we divided them up to the groups apparatus, machines, piping and instrumentation, and other, perhaps like infrastructure or subsea and so on. And in our first approach, we align this CFOS tags for apparatus, machines, piping and instrumentation into a common taxonomy with the DEXPI plant specification. And this one is ready, and the next step is verification of the DEXPI proposal by the CFOS team, and then we can publish the results, and we can use, as I said, this specification for use of both specifications, DEXPI and CFOS, in one software configuration, and we can switch from one to the other. And on the next slide, we see an example for our typical things, the pump. Here to the left, we see the DEXPI world, and in the middle, we see the CFOS world, and to the right, we see the relation to part 4 RDL. And this example shows how it is set up, the common taxonomy. And that is, I think, an important thing of our alignment work in the community. And the next is perhaps a view on what are the expectations in directions of IDO. This is a view on the life cycle as a requirement chain. We start with the process world, we go then to design the process plant, and then later on we go with the specifications in the green color to the market and try to find the right products on the market. And if we have the right products, we buy these products, we invent them as assets, and then we have the full life cycle as a requirement chain. And if we go vice versa, in the view of operating, we have it in the other way around. And this is an analyzing chain. And then if something wrong with an asset, we ask first, okay, which product was it? From which vendor did we bought that? Or which product model was it? And then we go back to our own specification from the process plant world. And if we go deeper back, then we can say, okay, what was my process? And this two things, the requirement chain and the analyzing chain, that is the thing we try to cover with the IDO world. And we specified a use case 7. And in this use case, we try to specify how IDO can cover this world of the life cycle view. To the left, we see the process world, in the middle the process plant, and to the right the equipment or asset world. And if we have a look which specification is, we see, okay, this all, we hope that in future IDO can cover this all. To the left, we have the process world from DEXPI process, in the middle from DEXPI plant, and CFOS covers the tag world and the equipment world. That means the plant and the asset equipment world. And that is the part we try to cover with IDO in the view of DEXPI and CFOS. And in the last training session, we heard something good about DISC and IMF. And if we had a look, we saw that the DISC colleagues had a view on the aspects function, plant, installed assets and products. Okay, that is the view from David. And I think here we see we have to answer the question, what are the relations to the process plant, to the asset, and to the product model. These things we have to bring into a common understanding. I think that is important and we had questions after our last session. David has some questions, Torbjörn has some questions, how these things relate together. And I think that is a part we have to solve in the next week and months. that was a little view from my side, how we try to align all the different specifications we have here in the community, and especially here in the view of the IDO training. Back to you, Gregor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I liked how you handled my slide update. Okay. Yeah, but we talked beforehand, so no issue. So I will switch to the browser for the so-called deep dive. When you go to our DEXPI homepage, you have the section of the specifications where you find our specifications. And on this page, you see the current status for the P&ID spec, that is version 1.4, and for the process spec that currently has version 1.0. And they both very combined specifications. But let's focus on the P&ID specification, version 1.4, where we have the HTML link over here. We'll open it in a new tab. So that is one of the deliverables of the DEXPI specification. The DEXPI specification is based on the DEXPI information model. And the information model is used to generate different deliverables. That is the HTML view of the specification. We also have a PDF view. You can also create a UML view of the DEXPI information model that is handed over as an XML file. And if you have certain requests regarding, let's say, semantic technologies, depending on your use case, DEXPI can also provide RDF versions of particular parts of the DEXPI information model. The DEXPI specification, so to say, is a human receptible version of the DEXPI information model. And it also contains guidance on how to implement this in a particular file. So if you have a particular flow sheet, P&ID, and you want to hand this over, or the included information, so we heard from Heiner, the engineering content, the graphics, and the topology, then you currently have to use the Proteo schema serialization for XML files. Looking at the overview and concepts, we give a little bit of explanation what's, so to say, happening in the specification. We have some motivation for what DEXPI is doing, why it makes sense, like the objectives and expectations. We talk a little bit about the modeling concepts because the decision was made that we use UML as Unified Modeling Language. And there are some patterns how to translate some concepts that are in UML and that we want to model into the, let's say, written specification. And as I already said, implementation of Proteo schema is currently quite important because that is the standard way how to serialize a P&ID according to the DEXPI information model. With DEXPI version 2.0, we will have a new serialization mechanism that is not as complicated as Proteo schema and will also support the process world and more. So Proteo schema is just for DEXPI P&ID. And if you want to serialize DEXPI process or future versions of the DEXPI specification, there will be a tailor-made, straightforward XML schema and implementation mechanism so that the creation of interfaces is hopefully reduced by, we estimate, 90% because of getting rid of the complicated things of the Proteo schema. We have more than a decade of experience regarding Proteo schema, and now we know how to do it better. That's why we want to say DEXPI 2.0 comes with a new schema that is more appropriate based on the past information, and that will also cover more things like the process world and other use cases we will then talk about later when it comes to the actual DEXPI 2.0 later this year. For now, let's look at the information model. The information model itself contains, as we use UML, a lot of classes, class associations, and attributes. And they are grouped to certain packages to have an easy access if you as a human being are looking for certain classes. For example, when we talk about the plant breakdown structure, we can have a look at the package plant structure. And when we go here, we see different that exist in different international standards. So when we let's have a look at overview and see what we have here. Here we see an explanation that we recommend a hierarchy based on different ISO and ANSI standards, where we already saw from Heiner that we have a match regarding site, industrial complex, process plant section, enterprise. We all have an idea what an enterprise is and why it makes sense to have this somehow associated to a P&ID. And this is what we recommend as main hierarchy. Of course, we know there's something quite common that is called area, and that it's no problem to use area as well. And so we have quite a flexible way of representing hierarchy things by just linking the element to the hierarchy that you want to use in your P&ID or in your handover. So we have the plant area, we have also plant train and plant system. So that is not a problem. So DEXPI has the aim to be able to transport any P&ID, not just an ISO P&ID, an ANSI P&ID, and whatever P&ID that is complete. No, we want to be able to transport incomplete P&IDs that are still work in progress and that use symbols of arbitrary standards. Because we define the information content and we give quite a flexibility on what you do. So you can actually create wrong P&IDs that make no sense in reality and hand them over using DEXPI. Because we cannot we cannot be so tight regarding the rules, because we do not know what engineers actually want to do, and we actually do not know at which point of a creation they hand something over. So we are quite flexible because we want to hand over any P&ID. So let's maybe have a look at one particular example. So industrial complex is one of the classes. And when you look at the specification and use the HTML version, you will always see a short, let's say, description or definition. You will see we use the definition by ISO 1029. And you always have the surroundings, the environment in the specification, shown by a UML class diagram. So in the center, we have the industrial complex. We see that there's a link to a parent structure, or that it is there is a link to a parent structure. And industrial complex can be interpreted as a lot of things. So if you know how to read UML, you can see that this is a specialization of different things that enable us to be quite flexible. That's why it looks quite complicated in this picture. When I go over to another part that is quite important, the equipment part, as we heard, that apparatus and machines are quite important. And I go to our famous centrifugal pump, then we see again a short definition, and we point to post Caesar entry. And again, you see the UML diagram having the centrifugal pump that has impellers, and that is a specialization of a pump, and that is a specialization of equipment. And as an equipment, it can have mounts, for example. It can have chambers, nozzles. This is what you always see when you click on a class. You have a definition. You see the environment in the UML information model, and then you scroll down. You see the explicitly defined attributes. And here we just see two, and that is one principle of DEXPI as well. We reduce the attributes to a very minimum, because the more we define, the more we later on have to map. And DEXPI is not meant as a standard for defining a complete data sheet for a centrifugal pump, but only being able to deliver what we can usually see on a P&ID. When we have the equipment bar and a centrifugal pump has different technical fields that we explicitly visualize on the P&ID to the human being, then we expect that something like shaft power and rotational speed are something that are quite common. So that's the minimum we define. When you want to have more regarding the whole engineering information, there are enough other standards addressing the issue of what are the best properties or attributes for certain things of equipment. So we have the directly assigned attributes, and they have composition attributes like there are different parts that may have additional information. In this case, you see that the centrifugal pump can have a part, impeller, and when I would click on the impeller, I could see which attributes, which properties the impeller has. And when you scroll down further, you can see the guidance how to implement this in Proteus schema. As mentioned beforehand, currently, if you want to serialize a certain P&ID using DEXPI information model, using the DEXPI specification, you have to create a certain XML file, and the XML file must adhere to the Proteus schema. And this box always gives guidance how to implement this. If you are not interested in the Proteus schema information here, you can just uncheck the Proteus checkbox on the top, and then you have less content on this slide. And an additional example is the last part of this general class description. So the Proteus schema tells you which URI to use, where to point at, and which tag to use. And if you want to see this as an instance, so to say, there is an example. So if you have a thing called centrifugal pump 1 that is of type or of class centrifugal pump, it should be represented in the XML file in the end like this, that you have a tag called equipment, as you can see above as well. And there's an ID that is the name in this case. And we have a component class centrifugal pump, as you can see here. And you have to use the URI as indicated above. So that is the thing that gives you guidance on how to implement this in XML file. And the rest is going into detail regarding the mentioned attributes. So the short description, multiplicity, or what type it is, and again, how to implement this if you have a specific value. Let's have a look. We have the design rotational speed that is in XML here. And if you see, we need a link to a URI, in this case to the DEXPI sandbox URI. And you can see the value of 180 is reflected by having a value and a unit. And the unit's URI again points to post-Caesar reference or resource. So that's basically what you find for all the classes in specification. So you can go through this as a human being to step by step understand what is inside the specification and what is possible with the specification. As I said, we have different packages. The most important one that first comes in mind is apparatuses and machines. We call it equipment. Of course, on a P&ID for piping, we have piping and instrumentation as well. And there are some core things that will be common to DEXPI process and DEXPI plant in the future, like physical quantities or the way we describe graphics. So that is basically the content or the way you can content that we have in the specification. Usually the question comes up, okay, that is for a human being. If I have a computer that shall do something with this, it's not nice to click through HTML pages, and it's also not nice to have just a huge PDF. So that's why I said in the beginning, if you want, you can have this model as UML model serialized as an XMI file. In the XMI, you will have all the classes, all the attributes, and the class associations. What you will not have is the automatically generated UML diagrams that you can see here. They are all automatically created. It's not no human being is placing this on the canvas. It's automatically generated, and they will not be part of the XMI. So when you have the XMI as a source for your computer to read the classes, attributes, and class associations, you will just have the model and not the visualization in form of such diagrams. As a side note. What's the difference to DEXPI 1.3? Short answer, only little things. Some things are new. So when I go to the new of December, where we basically announced that we have released it, you can see what we did in the meantime. So since 2021, we had a working group of 10 to 20 people regularly meeting and addressing the topics that were brought up by the community. And each topic gets a unique ID or issue number, as you can see here with hashtags. And more than 10, we discussed and came to a decision how to improve the specification, giving more clarification regarding graphics, adding a new concept for annotations or nodes that are quite common, that do not address the engineering content as hard facts like a power of X kilowatt or a temperature of Y Kelvin, but giving guidance to the engineer. That is also a common concept of PIDs, that you have nodes to describe things that are not that standardized. Then improving some definitions, add persistent identifiers, add new concepts like a mount and sensor wells. So different topics that came up from the community were discussed and included in the updated 1.4 version of the PID specification. For example, the primary element, the measuring element topic, where we realized in the meantime that the measuring element is a more appropriate name for what we use on PIDs, and what we want to describe in the DEXPI information model. So there, that's basically how we do this. There's a specification. There are people using it. There is a DEXPI working group taking up all the raised issues to decide how to best integrate this so that we do not break existing stuff, but are able to cover more concepts that obviously have a need somewhere, because otherwise they were not raised to the group. Especially the NOACA project topic, Equinor and partners were quite active, gave a lot of valuable input to this discussions to improve the PID specification here. So you have an idea how to find the specification via the DEXPI homepage. You have an idea how to read the HTML version as a human being. You have an idea how you can get a machine-readable version by contacting us, and then you can get the XMI and potentially even something like RDF. And you have an idea what is the mechanism, how we improve our specification. Topics were clarified in the last years since we had the last release of the DEXPI PID specification. And with this, I go back to the slides, and I will short outlook on what is coming up in 2025. So the most important thing is the release of DEXPI 2.0. I will use a laser pointer to point it out. That is the most important things we are aiming for. We define the straightforward file format to get rid of the complexity of a Proteo schema, and we use a new file format, the new serialization mechanism, to have a common DEXPI 2.0 specification, where we combine the PID aspect and the PFD aspect. In other words, we combine the plant model and the process model into one overarching specification. And that will be the first time that we have a standard for serializing the DEXPI process things. So far, we have only tried something out because we could not use Proteus schema. And based on the information and the experience that we gained, we now will create a new data format for the serialization that is able to cover P&ID as well as PFD and BFD. The new format will cover the process part, the plant part, and this together will be called DEXPI 2.0, and we hope to get this out at latest end of September this year. That is the most pressing part from the technical core that we want to bring forward. The second part regarding more the networking aspect, that's what Heiner addressed previously. We want to publish the common taxonomy so that we have only need one configuration to use CFORS and DEXPI. So if you hand over CFORS information and you have P&IDs inside this information pack, then the P&ID obviously should be handed over using DEXPI file format. And when you address the things in the CFORS handover package and in the DEXPI P&ID file, they can be classified using this common technology, common taxonomy. So that's what we aim for, that you only need one configuration and not several different configurations when you handle CFORS and DEXPI information handover. Regarding IDO, we want to make DEXPI process and DEXPI plant as semantic as possible. So we use the information model and sort it into IDO. I guess there's already something going on, and I guess we will make good progress in the next month. And this should fit to the DEXPI 2.0, that we can have an appropriate deliverable that tells interested parties how to work in a semantic way with the DEXPI 2.0 specification, for example, by using the mapped IDO concepts. And last point regarding disk IMF, we think the information modeling framework can fit very well when we talk about things and their properties. But we still need to write it down how different concepts map or need to be mapped between the DEXPI lifecycle view and the IMF terminology, so to say. And what is not on the slides, we hope to have end of this year or September, October, the so-called DEXPI Days or DEXPI University conference, where we will give the possibility to hand in scientific papers to do some research for example, P&ID students. We will have a pit mix session to invite standardization organizations to exchange on the latest updates. And we plan to have tutorials or training sessions like in the university where people can teach others about their experiences and how to handle anything that is related to DEXPI. So that's kind of a marketing part, but I think that is something that could show the benefits that DEXPI can bring to you, to your business, to your processes, and to your data management by linking different aspects like the standardization aspect, the scientific research aspect, especially looking at the DEXPI process, where we have process simulation connected. There's a lot going on also in universities. And the training sessions are quite important to spread the knowledge about this, so as many parties can benefit from DEXPI as possible. So that's a side remark, not on the slide, just for you today. We discussed this the day before yesterday, so it's a quite hot news, so to say, and we hope to get this the date and location as soon as possible, so that you still have the chance to schedule this in your calendar if you're interested. Okay, that's from my side, from our side. I guess we have now around about 50 minutes for Q&A, if you like.
Thank you so much. This was a good presentation and exactly on time also. We have 15 minutes left for questions and answers. So I don't know, I don't see anything in the chat. but and so please go ahead and ask questions.
Okay, either it was quite clear what we told, or completely not understandable. Okay, yeah, Torbjörn, where can I find the XMI RDF? With the upcoming release, we will have it as a default deliverable that you can directly access the XMI. Regarding, I will share my screen, regarding the RDF, it will always be tailored to your actual needs, because depending on what you want to do, some things may be represented differently in RDF. So coming again back to XMI question, let's see when I go to supporting material on the specifications part of the homepage. Then you hand it over to the DEXPI cloud, and then you have something like XMI, XMI, XMI. So you have the DEXPI P&ID specification in different XMI versions, depending on if you are using Modilio or another UML modeling tool. So that is what we can directly provide for DEXPI 1.4. Go back and see if we have it for DEXPI process as well. Supporting material, DEXPI online storage, DEXPI process XMI. So you can find it on the homepage if you look at the right places. Okay, I see a hand raised by Jan.
Yes, thank you, Gregor. Thank you, Heiner, for a very good presentation. Thanks both. I have a question related to the dependency we have to software houses delivering according to the standard. And we are very eager to start using the 1.5 version. We see some of the important elements that we have missed for some time in the new specification. And I know that quite a lot of the software houses is a part of your organization, the DEXPI organization. And I should like to understand their roadmap with respect to support the version 1.5, if you know anything about that.
Yeah. We had a general meeting the day before yesterday on Wednesday, where key vendors were also present, and everyone is waiting for the new data format. So, because that is a future-proof format that we will support starting with DEXPI 2.0 on. I'm addressing also the question in the chat after releasing DEXPI 2.0. We fixes to the DEXPI P&ID 1.x series. We will not further improve it. We will not do something in parallel. So if there's a real bug, we will fix it, and we will fix the Proteus schema accordingly. But every new concept that has to be added will only go into the DEXPI 2 series. And regarding the software vendors, coming back to your question, Jan, we know from several software vendors that they are waiting for this new data format. And one goal of the new data format is to be faster in making use of the DEXPI specification. So that's what I try to estimate. The estimation is that if you have nothing and start implementing, the time implementing DEXPI using the new data format will be reduced by 90%. So all the complicated stuff we will throw out. So we can make it as easy as possible to existing software vendors to do the transition to the new data format. We know that it's quite important to have the support by the software vendors. And before we made the decision which format and how we do it, we had a survey, and we heard what the software vendors were saying. And so we decided to use XML as a stable technology stack that we have a lot of experience already. And if you need, for example, JSON, you can derive a lot of JSON by looking at the XML schema. And so we are trying to be close to the software vendors so that they further support the way DEXPI goes. so that we as an industry have the most benefit by having an early support of the new concept that we fed back based on projects, so that we can improve the specification. And sorry, I just saw what Jean-Charles wrote in the chat. We need industry adoption, and for this we need software implementation that we want to. That's why we want to have an easy new data format, easy to implement. Okay. Regarding Peter's comment regarding a bug and so on, great. If you have a bug, let me see. We have the DEXPI homepage. We have a contact thing. Maybe you can find implementation, a hint what to do. Hopefully it's not broken. It's loading too long. I guess there is a contact form where you can say, I want to report an issue in the DEXPI specification. So if you have something, just give your name, click it, and give us some hints, and then we can contact you, so we can improve the specification. Of course, if there's a bug, we need to fix it. Yeah.
I can do it right now. You cannot store electrical energy. It's a flow. It's a flow of charges. You cannot store wind. You cannot store flow. So electrical energy cannot be stored.
If you think it's like this, then post it, and we will see if there's a need to change according descriptions.
Sorry.
Well, if we want to conform to the other word of physics, then probably yes. Okay.
So then.
Sorry, can you explain that? Because David Cameron here saying that of course you can store electrical energy. Store it in a battery.
How do you do that?
You put it in a battery.
No. It's chemical energy, and electrical current is then regenerated from chemical sources. That's different form of energy, and you need to convert between different forms of energy. The electrical energy is the flow of electrical charge.
Okay.
You cannot store flow.
What's the capacitor then?
A capacitor.
Yeah.
That's not flowing in the capacitor.
Well, the whole point of the object is that you need functionally a system that actually will provide, take energy in, store that energy, and make it available for use.
You do store energy, but not electrical energy. In a battery, you store chemical energy and recreate electrical energy from chemical energy.
Okay,
different formats.
That is a perfect thing we should discuss in a smaller group to clarify, and not with the audience of 36 people. So please hand it in, and we'll connect you so that we can be more precise wherever it is necessary for the needs that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, regarding Jean-Charles, yes, this member list obviously was not updated in the last days. We had to do some rearrangements because some companies did not want to see their logo on this page, and then maybe during rearrangement something got lost. We have to definitely update this. Thanks, Jean-Charles, for pointing out. Migration support from old DEXPI to new DEXPI. I guess yes. We should help interested parties to do this transition, and if we are not doing this ourselves, we will have a contractor and that can do the consulting, and we may have a so-called hypercare phase. If you are early enough, maybe you get the resources to get support. Otherwise, we will see how we can manage it. But anyways, the DEXPI community, DEXPI association should be the first contact point if you need assistance in doing the migration support from DEXPI 1 to DEXPI 2.
There are a couple of hands raised.
Trygve, please.
Yes, sorry I'm late to this meeting. I was stuck in another one, but thank you for inviting me. Will the transcript, it be available for everyone invited then?
We have
No,
made,
sorry, the recording, I mean, sorry.
the recordings will be available for everyone at the same place as the other recordings. And 2 places actually on the PVN project on PCA YouTube. They will be made available, yes. But
related,
we have made a decision not to publish the transcript, because then we have to read it and correct errors and make sure that it's okay. So that's a decision we have made.
And according to this topic, there is a member called read.ai meeting notes. Are you aware of this? And do you know what this thing is doing? Because I was warned one time that there is some AI joining meetings and transcribing everything, and it goes, we do not know where. So maybe it would be nice to have an explanation at one point where this read.ai meeting notes participant actually comes from.
Thank you for pointing it out. I didn't notice it. I'm sorry for that. We have seen it before also and asked those who have done that to turn it off.
Okay.
But I don't know how to turn it on. It's been there maybe for the whole time. But I hope we don't get a problem with that in going on further.
Okay, Jan.
Yes, thank you. Yes, a follow-up question from my previous one. It's about the new functionality in the 1.5 version, and about the hashtag 72 point, the add persistent identifications and the identifiers to the DEXPI. Have you some suggestions on how this should be used? How the concept could be utilized by the industry? I see a potential here to connect it to, say, IMF types or other representation of the equipment.
You are muted, I guess.
Thank you very much. That's the benefit of having video on. Yeah, this came up from feedback from the NOACA Equinor side again, and we said we define that there is something, but we will not set any rules. It's not the DEXPI task to define how exactly to use this. You can use this to address, uniquely identify particular instances of objects across time. So if you have different versions of the same PID with the same things on it, the persistent IDs of these things should be the same, independent of which tool last imported or exported this thing. So it's not addressing the class, but the individual on a particular PID.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And regarding the chat, question by Peter. Are you planning to release a reference implementation of mapping to or from different data models, such as ISO 10303 step? Data mapping is a pressing problem, I suppose. Reference implementation mapping, partly yes. Of some things we are aware. For example, with Total Energies, we are connecting to IDO via Solutions. That's what CFOS is doing as well. Regarding other data models, if we are not aware, of course, we do not have it. And if there is a need for a mapping, we always have to discuss where to place it. Is it one end, the other end, or some entity in between that stores the, let's say, recommended or reference mapping between the concepts? If you have ideas what we should look at and how to implement this reference mapping, you're welcome. Currently, we may be working on DEXPI CFOS and DEXPI IDO. That's what Heiner also mentioned. What there is on top Currently, I'm not aware of anything in addition. Okay, regarding DEXPI process, we are pointing to, for example, Cap Open, but that's maybe not what you are looking at regarding STEP. If you have time, we will be happy to include your workforce in doing exactly what you're asking for.
Okay.
We are approaching the end of this meeting, and I would just like to show one slide before we close, so we can. And that is the next meeting. The next meeting a week from now will be about the DEXPI process, and I will announce it early next week who is doing the presentation and so on and so forth. But I hope Gregor is coming back,
yes.
And I don't know about Heiner yet.
I guess I will return. And there is high activity going on regarding the DEXPI process. So you're invited to join next week for the DEXPI process.
Next week, same time. And we have quite a number of proposals for the rest of maybe not the rest of the year, but at least for the first half of the year. So if any of you have things you would like to see us present in these training sessions, let me know. So if we get many responses on one particular topic, then we will do it. With that, again, thank you so much, Heiner, and thank you so much, Gregor. It was very nice to have you here, and I really appreciate the presentation. So thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.